Hello, welcome to the Turn End podcast. The Lily Whites taught the students a lesson tonight in Oriel Park. Joining me to kick things off, we have Gally. Chris is going to be joining us a little bit later on.
Even not too bad. Them shades that they're you're Americanized now. Americanized. We've lost you.
That's it. What do you think of the match tonight?
Yeah, it's it's a cracking win. It's especially after last week. I know I don't want to break up into two halves. We wouldn't be breaking up into two halves for obvious reasons. I did dread it coming off the half time. Not to fast forward too much, but we're going to have another Shelbourne game on our hands here. It was going to be one of these dull affairs and nothing happened. It seemed to start. I noticed a downpour of rain all day, and just before the game we had heavy torrential. Look, from the stand, it looked like monsoon rain. It's like putting water out the night before it freezes over, and it's just slippery. But you know what? UCD, to their credit, like we said it here before, they're an excellent football team. Like they really are. They pass the ball really well. I know they haven't got that kind of biting edge up front, but they're an excellent team. They're very difficult to deal with. They're very quick on the ball. They didn't give Dundalk a minute from the off. Now, having said that, Dundalk didn't help themselves. It seemed to be a little wayward with passes early on, but there wasn't really anything. I don't want to say there was nothing separating them in the first half, but they were both that poor, I suppose. That's probably why there was nothing separating them. It was just kind of it really needed, as cliche as it needed a goal, but we probably needed half time. It kind of lit up in the second half a little bit. The weather got a little bit better, but without jumping forward, I thought it was one of those games that it could have dwindled out very, like a goal for UCD really in the first half could have really changed what happened in the second half. Like if they'd have nicked a goal in the first half, it was that flat of the first maybe 30 minutes. Like there was nothing really happening. Like I had my daughter with me and my niece at the first set of games. Like they were bored tears. They were on sugar rush eating the sweets. They were bored tears at the first half. I thought he was going to have to go home at half time and take them home. But I don't know if you were watching or listening. I don't know what it was like on the commentary, but to watch, it wasn't, for the first half anyway, it just didn't really get going at all for me. And you might have thought different listening to it, but
no, I was able to watch and listen to the first half. I got to see all the second half just with I don't want to badmouth when Chris isn't here. I don't want to badmouth the stream too much, but it might be the website that I was using to stream the match. But yeah, I think, watching it, as you say, that first half, it did seem flat. It seemed, I mean, I don't want to let everybody in on the secret that you got your score prediction right, Gally, for the match tonight. But when I seen, we were good up against UCD, considering the last time when we played them up in Belfield a few weeks back, I thought it was going to be a tight affair. And to be fair, I thought they defended very well in the first half. It seemed to me like our only game plan was get the ball out to McCarry or someone on the right wing in the first half and cross the ball in. And later on in the match, I think it worked, but it just didn't seem to be working, did it, in the first half? But it just seemed like it was just rinse and repeat, at least for towards the end of the half, those last 15 minutes. It was literally just get the ball out wide, get the ball in the box, and they just seemed to stand up well to it, and I suppose if you're just repeating it all over and over again, it's easy enough to defend against. But as you say, to UCD's credit, they set up well in the first half. They made it hard for us. They made it difficult to play the ball through the middle. But yeah, I think that first half, to me, it just seemed like it was going to be it was going to be one of those nights, didn't it? And
that was always the fear, like especially like we've talked about before, but especially with the Shelbourne game, and look at the UCD game there as well at Belfield. It used to be Bray Wanderers. Bray Wanderers coming to Oriel Park used to be like a sticky wicket for Dundalk, and now it seems to be Shelbourne and UCD at the minute. And like you said, the way the game started, I was fearful at half time. Look at a couple of changes. Early goal in the second half as well, not to plough on straight through it, but badly needed. It was badly needing a goal. And I won't say we were overly comfortable when we scored. McMillan's finish is fantastic. But you can see the difference in a David McMillan playing up front and a Pat Hooven playing up front. It's not that he doesn't run, but it's Pat just plays so deep, and without, like you said, rinse and repeat. We're talking about Pat Hooven here all the time, but he just brings so much to the game further down the field in his own kind of midfield, and that's what's kind of missing with Davey. It's not that it's missing; it's just a different player. It's just a different type of player. But the UCD lads, I mean, I'd say they kicked themselves at the end of games because they've played decently well. They just don't have, like I know Kerrigan and them and a couple of injuries, but they're probably one of the best footballing teams in the league, and they just don't seem to be able to finish teams off or get clinical points away from home. And it's a pity on them. In the second half, it just died away from them. I mean, they could have played with 13. Once Keith Ward comes onto the field, and Ryan O'Kane, I know we've gone on with Ryan O'Kane for a long time now, but his runs, him and Ward, linked up really well in the second half. And look, I think once we took the 1-0 lead, we definitely, we were in charge of the game then. And although they've had a decent, I'd like to see the possession. I don't think we battered them on possession. But I mean, our finish and our quality, although UCD are a fantastic conveyor belt for the league of players, they can't hold on to players. So that experience in that squad doesn't last too long. They might get a season, maybe 2 seasons out of it, whereas we have those experienced players that come on and do what they've done in the second half. And I just think, once we got the goal, it didn't look like any other result. Now, I didn't expect 3-0, to be honest, come to half time, but it really didn't look like anybody else in the second half.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think the second half we obviously started bright again. We scored 2 goals from out in those wide areas where I said it was rinse and repeat. But I think it was probably the longer UCD were going to be able to hold on, the harder it was going to be. And to get that goal, I think we got it on 50 minutes. Was it Davy Max? It was quite early in the first half or the second half. So I think getting it that early just deflated them, and they had to back off. They had to kind of go for it a little bit, so they didn't sit as deep, the left spaces. And I think, as you say, when the likes of Wardy comes on, he's able to exploit those spaces. I mean, there was one stage in the second half, I think a pass came into him in the middle, and he dummied it and let it go on to the next player. And there's not many games in the league this season where he's going to get that, be afforded that time, But as you say, I think to UCD's credit, like, they are such a good football inside. And they are hurting with injuries and the Kerrigan news, and obviously Colin Whelan, who destroyed us up in Belfield. He's absolutely out for the season. I think he's obviously a big miss. But I think it's just one of them where I'd say the longer that it had stayed 0-0, it would have probably, they might have been able to hold on. But the fact that we scored so early in the second half, I think, made a big difference. And as you say, it was a great finish by McMillan. I mean, that's probably it's probably a trademark McMillan goal, isn't it? It's the kind of one you expect kind of from him, because you just rifle it into the top of the net.
And it's almost like we mentioned Pat Hoban there a minute ago. It's a non-Pat Hoban goal, I suppose. That's probably what Davy Mack gives you, that Pat wouldn't. So there's a flip side of that as well. But I mean, once the substitutes come on, Wardy come on, like that experience coming on, even Bone come on in midfield. I thought Greg Sloggett had another cracking game. And you mentioned Macari. I mean, if Macari had a left foot, he probably scores 2 himself. He's cut in so many times. I don't know if he doesn't use it too often in training. Like, he's had one shot with his left foot, but if he got really in the zone, he definitely could have a 2 tonight, because he's cut in so well off the right. But look at Dan Kelly as well. Dan Kelly's probably covered. I don't know what the Stat Sports boys have on their monitors for tonight, but there's definitely a couple of kilometres on the right wing tonight, along with Macari and Dan Kelly. But yeah, I think Davy Mack needed that. I think the game needed it badly. And then from then, it almost became the Keith Ward show. Some of his little touches just, we could talk about Keith Ward till midnight. It was one of our old school 2.5-hour podcasts. Probably the last time when our guest coming up, the last time he was on, there were 2.5-hour podcasts. We do have it down to an hour. But look, like you said, there was lads there. Macari in particular had a fantastic game, but they had the run of the wing. I mean, their left back, which just wasn't up to the boys at all. I mean, you can see that the stature of Macari's grown as well over the last couple of months. He looks like a man now. Whereas he played like a young kid at the start, and coming into this kind of start of the season, or start of the halfway mark of the season, games like that are vital. And look, it looks like I won't say, like, you could say the result flattered us, but in the second half alone, we were definitely worth a 2-0 at least. And look, like, it was like a different team in the second half. Whatever was said at half time, you probably murdered them. But I think the lack of rain and that in the second half probably played into our hands as well. But yeah, a fantastic second half. We can probably just literally skip the first half. But another fantastic second half from the lads.
Yeah, no, and I think, as you say, it's a good point, actually, and I think now is the right time to just remind everybody that's listening in, get your nominations in for the man of the match tonight. There is a couple that's probably in contention tonight, and if you let us know when you pick the same as us, you'll be in with a chance to win a 15-inch pizza from Tony's Pizzeria. Just when you mentioned, Sloggett having a great game, I think again tonight in a game obviously where we had space in midfield. I think again it shows, doesn't it, the partnership between him and Paul Doyle is something special that's growing, and they're two players you'd hope that are with the club for the long haul. And hopefully now, Stevie O'Donnell is looking at that and he's able to build kind of our team around a midfield duo of that. It's been a long time since Dundalk FC has had a midfield, probably since Shieldsy and O'Donnell himself, that we've actually had a centre midfield pair and like that seems to be controlling games, isn't it?
Yeah, and when you have two, look, we don't want to become the Greg Sloggett show because we mention Greg all the time, but when you have two players like that, what we didn't have last year, you have that freedom for Robbie Benson to let loose, and a Keith Ward when he comes on. But it's getting to the stage. Well, it's not getting to the stage. It's at the stage where Greg Sloggett, for me, we probably can't go without him. We probably can't do it without him. I just think his range in the last 12 months alone. I know, look, you're right off last season almost, but for me, we knew when we signed him, he was a cracking footballer. He'd done it at UCD. He was fantastic at Derry. But I mean, he's like a different animal. He really is. Whatever's going on in training, maybe it's just a mindset thing. Happier club, different staff, new owners. That kind of feel good factors back. Steph will be loving this bit. I hope he clips this bit out of the show. This will be the positivity section for him. And Doyle and Benson just complement that. I mean, we worried for Paul Doyle at the start of the season. We kind of, we had lads talking he was going to be the best signing we could make and stuff like that. It kind of didn't happen for him early on. But tonight, and I even, just when you mentioned Paul Doyle, I just thought of it, he actually came off the field onto the subs bench. And Stevie actually took him back off the subs bench and was talking to him about what he was after him doing in the game. Like stuff like that. That man managed, even though he's been subbed off, he's still talking to him. That's what we were looking for. That kind of man management. The lads know where to stand. He's explaining to them where he went wrong. He's not waiting for tomorrow to tell him. This is why, maybe he was explaining this is why you've taken you off. This is where you went well. We don't know, but that kind of man management that Stevie brings to it, you can see it in the lads. I mean, Mark Connolly as well tonight's good game. Contract talks going on. He's been the talk of the town for the last couple of weeks, but fantastic. Like the two lads you've mentioned, actually for me, Sloggett was sensational tonight. Really was.
Yeah, I think just mentioning Mark Connolly there, I think in the first half he was getting a nosebleed. He was that high up the pitch at times. He wouldn't be used to in games having that kind of space in front of him, So I think at one stage I saw him, he was up near the edge of the box,
Yeah. The Pat Hooven run.
Exactly. But I suppose, look, moving on to the second goal, it came from a corner, I believe. Who did you think scored it? Because that was a hot topic in debate on the commentary today.
Well, I had from where I sat in the stand, I know I did see Sloggett get the touch, but to me, I don't know if it went in slow motion. I thought I was sure a defender. There was two touches after that, just from the angle now. Obviously, that lovely perspex glass that's in the stand blocks half your view, and the old beam that our guests will remember as well because they were there when he played. It looked for me. It took that long, but it was almost a muted applause. Nobody knew if it was a goal. Nobody knew if it was offside. Nobody knew if it was a handball. To me, it looked like it took two touches. It's gone down as a Sloggett goal. I thought there was another touch after, but look, Greg will take it all day to add it to the tally. I'm assuming they announced it as his goal, so I'm assuming it's gone to him.
I think it looked.
But it looked
again,
dubious
from the replays, it looked like it was either Sloggett an own goal or it was Adams got the final touch. It's hard to tell.
To me, it looked like there was two other touches. Now I don't know who's first or whose Adidas Predators were on it, but the only touch I did see was Greg Sloggett. So for me, it is his goal. But look, I'm open to correction on that. But again, look, it's sloppy goals. But I mean, we've earned it in the second half.
Yeah, I think Gavin McLaughlin on social media, on the club's official social media, gave them both a half a goal each. So
half a goal, yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Adams is Sloggett for that one. Then we'll go on to the last goal before we bring in our guest from one of your favourites, Scally. He's in your top one, I think, this season. Keith Ward stepped up with another goal this season.
Yeah, and
another ex-UCD man too.
Do you know what? I was actually going around. We had Doyle, Sloggett, Wardy, McMillan, Boyle, like many ex-UCDs were on that team tonight. That's the club they are, unfortunately. People poaching up players, but Wardy tonight when he come on, and it's simple things, and even for the goal, it's a great ball in, but it's first time. There's none of this take a touch, have a think. It's first time, and that's what I mentioned. The experience that comes into play. He knows the space he has. It's kind of almost behind him. It's nearly under his feet, but he knows exactly where the keeper's going to go. He's able to put it to the keeper's left. And yeah, look, it's a fantastic finish. And look, there's nobody you want to see scoring more goals than Keith Ward. He just has that. Robbie Benson's probably one as well. but he just has that kind of rapport with the fans. And when he scores, even if we bet 6-0 and he's getting one, he might get one at the end and make it 6-1, he still gets a rapturous applause. And players like that, they have that kind of euphoria, really, because he has something that nobody else has. He's probably the best we've had since Patrick McElhenney. Now, I know that's not that long ago, but a good, a fully fit Patrick McElhenney has been maybe 2 seasons away. But it's a fantastic finish. Like experience, first time, no messing, knows where everybody is, knows what defenders are. Perfect.
Yeah. Well, look, I think going from one Dundalk legend or a soon-to-be Dundalk legend, we'll bring in another a fan favourite. Hopefully, Chris will be on in a couple of minutes because I know he wanted to have a good chat with our guest. But let's welcome former Dundalk FC goalkeeper Alan ONeill. Alan,
hello, lads. How are you?
Alan, how's
good
things?
To be on.
How's
Not
things?
bad at all. Yeah.
I was going through the shows earlier on today, Alan. It's just over a year since you were on. I didn't actually think it was 12 months since you've been on the show last time. Yeah. It was May, I think it was May 25th, around that kind of time you were on. And like, I don't know if you got to watch the match, but the first question I just wanted to ask you, I
did. I saw it
again. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll go to your views on the match first, and I'll keep the question there for a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
So what did you think overall?
Your views on the game, and I couldn't disagree. First half was kind of a non-event. UCD never posed a threat the whole game for me. They never really. Nathan Shepherd was never under any pressure whatsoever. I thought the quality of Dundalk's crossing, you spoke about Lewis McCarthy going up the right wing, but the quality of the crossing wasn't good in the first half. And it seemed to be it was only plan A, and that's all there was in the first half. And yet in the second half, was it Daniel Kelly who crossed the ball? The first really quality cross that went in, scored. And then the second one was another cross. It was a corner, albeit. So then the game, I felt once the first goal went in, the game was over. And
absolutely.
It just had UCD. It did, yeah. I mean, you always were fearful in the first half. Yeah, they won't get a chance, but UCD will get one chance, and they'll take it. But once Dundalk scored, that the game was over as far as I was concerned. And that's the way it proved. And second half very convincing. UCD, I think we say the same things about UCD. Anytime I've been asked questions about UCD over the last 20, 25 years, it's the same thing. I did play for them, but I played with a very experienced UCD team, the only time they had an experienced team. Since then, they are a conveyor belt. I would always have them in the league because they do produce players. I mean, what was it? Dundalk had 6 ex-UCD players tonight. They do produce players. They give players a chance. And I will always have them in the league. But as you said yourselves, they'll always lose them. As soon as they become real players and are spotted, they're gone the next season. They don't have that continuity. They'll be there a year or two. If they do well, they're gone. But that's the way it is. And as I say, I would always have UCD in the league.
Good evening, Chris.
Hi, Alan. How are you? Gents, how are you?
Not too bad. Alan, just on the UCD, do you think the results? I don't want to say deserve, but do you think it's harsh on the way they play football? We can talk about the way people play football, but it's a results business at the end of the day. But do you think it's almost slightly harsh on them when you can see them moving the ball the way they move, and their fitness levels are sensational for students at the end of the day?
I know what you're saying. But for me, it's always a results-driven business.
Yeah.
And they're always going to come up against. You spoke about the players that Dundalk brought on the second half. Keith Ward, who's been around, how long has Keith Ward been around the league and has been a quality player? They can bring him on the second half. UCD don't have that luxury from the start of the game. So it's the experience, I feel, at that level. They'll always do well. They'll do very well in the first division. But as soon as they step up, they'll lose their top players, and then it's a battle for the rest of the season. So they're always going to be a yo-yo club, But they do try, and they've always played the game the right way. They've always tried to get the ball down, pass it. But it just doesn't happen for them. They don't have the experience to take them through it.
Look, Alan, I only come in just the end of the conversation there. One thing just with UCD, Alan, that, and you were talking about, you played at the time where there was some experienced players were able to mix in, am I right, when kind of Doc had it opened up for...
It was only for me,
Are UCD missing a trick slightly? That I'm thinking that we've got footballers who have short, I suppose, lifespan in sport. And probably, especially by the tail end of your career, you should really be thinking about your life after football. Is there an opportunity for UCD maybe to tap better into getting experienced players back in for their education in their latter years to boost up their squad, do you feel?
Yeah, there is a question of that, all right. But the whole ethos of UCD is about students who are in the college. And it's aimed more towards the younger students. They don't bring back mature students. The time I was in, when I was 2 years in UCD, we weren't in the college. Yeah. We were just we were ordinary part-time professionals who played with other clubs. And UCD came in to decide they were going to see how it would work, mix the ordinary players with the students, and it worked really well because they had some really, really good players at the time. And then you brought in those likes of Paddy Dunning, Robbie Gaffney. This is going way, way back now, lads. We're going back nearly 40 years. But that was lasted 2 years, and that was it gone. And they realized then, look, we can't do this. And the whole ethos of UCD is to get young players in, giving them an education. So it's not, I mean, players who go to UCD, it's not just about their football education, it's about their life education as well. So they're not wholly dependent on football all their lives. I mean, David McMillan, he has a degree in, I don't know what, he's a business, some sort of business degree. He's made
architect.
He can go, his football career is over. He can go elsewhere. So that's the beauty of UCD and the players they bring in. I get what you're saying with mature students, but mature students tend to not be ex-footballers. You know, they're lads who go back for their education. So I don't think that they're losing that way.
Yeah. I suppose, Alan, you popped into my mind this week and was a big reason for coming back on, because just earlier in the week we had Paul Behan on from KitCon Ireland, which is the first ever conference for football kits in Ireland in the Imperial Hotel tomorrow. And when I think of iconic kits, I think you know where I'm going with this one, Alan. I think straight away to a certain Swedish jersey. And I ended up...
I can go up and get it now, Chris. I have it upstairs.
I went down the wormhole on YouTube and ended up watching the whole 88 Cup final then, just to see it again in all its glory.
Yeah.
And it's such an iconic image, you know. Well, actually, when I roll back to that final, because you know the whole build up to that 88 final was all about Derry, wasn't it? Derry's first ever big final, and
absolutely.
And the atmosphere, and they packed out Dalymount that day.
They did. I mean, we had, I suppose we had maybe a third of the ground, but they had 2/3 of it. But it was just a mass of colour, red and white and black and white. And it was fantastic. But as you say, it was all about Derry City. And yet, the previous week we had won the league. So we were going for a double. But that seemed to be lost in the whole romance of Derry coming back into, or starting in the League of Ireland, and an opportunity to win the Blue Ribbon Trophy, the FAI Cup. So it was lost on that, but it wasn't lost on us, because we had a team of very, very experienced players. And just bring it on as far as we were concerned. And at that stage, you know, we were ready for anything, and having won the league the previous week, we wanted to go. I can still remember the determination in the dressing room. You know, we wanted it. We really wanted it. It didn't matter who was it, Derry City, whoever. And I think they had signed a few players as well.
That's right. I think their striker was playing a few games. Yeah, that's right.
Yes, they signed him for, like, it didn't matter to us, you know, really didn't. But great occasion, and I think back with such fond memories. And then the whole afterwards, it was funny because we'd won the league in Oriel the previous, I think, Friday week. About 10 days previous. We played it on the Friday, then the cup final was the following Sunday week. So there was a bit of a gap, but you still couldn't really let yourself go and enjoy the league win because the cup was coming up after it. But then when you won the cup on top of the league, and then the whole euphoria going back up to Dundalk, Hill Street. Yeah. The Hill Street Blues didn't exist for us. It was Hill Street magic. It was just unreal. It was a magnificent experience. And something that we had a bit of a reunion there a couple of weeks ago, and we got to see. I was up there in Oriel, and like we still talk about it. We have our memories all the time, and it means so much to us. And you know, and that came up the open deck bus parade through Dundalk, which doesn't happen anywhere else. It just doesn't. And like to experience that, it was just unreal.
I'm assuming the Swedish jersey came as part of your call-ups for the Irish amateur squad at the time. Was that right?
No, it was the Olympic squad. It was the Olympic squad. I was very superstitious as a goalkeeper. So I had me various little things that happened before games. But I was playing in the Olympic team, and the Olympic team was made up of all League of Ireland players. And we played Sweden, over in Malmo.
Yeah,
I think it was Malmo, but I swapped the jersey, my Irish jersey afterwards for the Swedish jersey, and I had a particularly good game that I remembered. So I said, right, that's it. And this jersey was very fashionable at the time as well for goalkeeping. It was always into me fashion, Chris, but it was very fashionable. They were all wearing it. I remember Van Brooklyn for us, the German keepers, they all wore it as well. So I said, I want to be part of this as well. So I started wearing the jersey, and everything was fine. Like no one said anything. We start coming up near the end of the season, and we're in the running for the league, and we're in the running for the cup. And back then, it's not like now, where you're on TV every week. Like it wasn't like that then. It was only sporadic. But as we were getting near the end of the season, we were on the telly all the time. So I remember we were sponsored by Harp, and Harp were a bit aggrieved that there was no Harp signal or sign on the front of the jersey. All the other lads had the Harp jersey, but there was none on mine. I remember Turley coming I got away with it for all the league. And then we're coming up to the cup final, which is going to be televised live. And Turley came up to me the week before. He says, "We have to do something about the jersey." I said, "What?" He said, "We have to put the Harp logo on it." I said, "But Turley, you can't change it." And this is me, super sick. You can't change. We've no choice. Either you put the Harp logo on or you don't. Well, I said, "Turley, if we lose this cup final, it's your fault. I'm telling you." But that's how it came to. And it's the only jersey I have.
Yeah.
Of all the jerseys I had down to, well, I must give it up to the club. But it's I still have it. And that was the story of it. And it was superstition more than anything else. And great memories. Great memories.
To me, it's so iconic because like all the photographs and everything after when you're doing the laps, you know, you're in that jersey. And you know, initially when I'd seen so much of the photographs, a lot of them were black and white, so it's not always obvious. But you know, when you see it in color and you see the blue, you're all right. Well, hang on a second, that jersey's, you know, that can't be right at all.
Didn't it?
Yeah,
you'd black, white, you'd red, white, and I had the blue. It was great.
How would you rate that, you know, 87, 88 team versus say the 91 team then?
Very difficult. I mean, I think between the two teams, firstly, I'd say great credit was due to Turlock for having putting the 88 team together first. And then we lost a good few players. By the time we went to Cork, I think there was only half of the team, maybe 5. Myself, Terry, Martin, Gino, Evo. And I think there was 5 who played in both. Very different teams. The 91 team was very, very. I mean, we had a great defense. We really had. I think that was the year we conceded 16 goals in 33 games. Yeah, conceding 5 in the first game. You know, so we conceded 11 goals in 32 games. We went through all the season. Everything was nearly 1-0, 1-0, 1-0. Whereas I think there was the 88 team. There was a lot of really great individual players, the likes of Martin Murray, the late and great Barry Joe. Desi Gorman. These were Larry Wise, great players off the cuff. You know, they had loads of natural talent. Whereas I thought the 91 team, more of a team, if you know what I mean, complementing each other, where we had great individual players in the 88 team. But both, you know, very successful. Both, you know, both was I mean, I was very fortunate to play in both of them. I loved playing on both sides. Yeah.
It's always scary, Alan, when you talk about the players you play with. You know, every one of them, including yourself, you know, have legendary status within the league. You know, and you know, when you talk about, you know, that there were two fantastic teams, I really don't think that's, you know, lost on us at all, because a lot of those players, I think we would all say that, you know, they would be of legendary status to us, and to be in two of those teams, it's a real honor for yourself, like.
Absolutely, no question. Like we spoke earlier. I spoke earlier about the 2 years at UCD. Well, I've been at Rovers, had been at Rovers and went to UCD. And at the end of the UCD experience, if you like, I was free, and I let it be known to Turlock that I wanted to go to Dundalk, and it started with that. To be given an opportunity, I knew to be given an opportunity. He was starting from scratch. I knew that because Dundalk had a couple of years where it was a very barren spell then, and he was putting a team together. But I'd only experienced playing against Dundalk at that stage, you know.
Yeah.
But to feel when you went up there, how, I mean, initially I didn't have great stats. I hold my hands up. I wasn't great in the first few games, but once I had settled into it, you know, to feel that I always felt you weren't just playing for yourself. You were playing for a town. A whole community up there. But then to be with these both sets of players over 6-7 years, I always maintained in my career. I was very lucky in my career, playing for some really good teams. But I always maintained I was at my best when I played for Dundalk. It was I think it was between 27 and 34, and I always maintained goalkeepers peak at about 30. That's because you gain all that experience, and I do feel that you peak around that stage. So to be playing, I felt at my best, and I was fortunate to play in Olympic teams. I've been called up with the international team, but that was all down to the players I was playing with and the success we had at Dundalk. So like it was just a great experience. I mean, I can look back fondly on my career, and in particular times at Dundalk, which they're magical times for us.
Dean, are you there?
Yeah. Sorry, Alan. I suppose, look, stepping forward to, you know, this season with Nathan Shepherd coming into the team, he's been a bit of a revelation this season. How do you feel he's doing, and how much credit is your brother Dermot taking for his good performance?
Oh, it's all down to Dermot. He told me. Dermot told me it's all down to him. No, I have spoken to him about him, and Dermot said is very complimentary about him, not just the way he's played. And I did see him play. I saw him playing tonight. Well, you couldn't judge any on tonight, but I saw him against Bowes there a couple of weeks back. Very assured, very calm. And you can see his relationship with his back four. They have confidence in him. You know the way they play. There's never any panic. And I saw him against Bowes, as I say, very assured, very calm, good decision making. But what I spoke to Dermot, when I was talking to Dermot about him, he says, I mean, as well as being a very sound lad, and I've read about him as well. I've read reports from Brentford on him, and they're saying what a sound lad he is. Now, I think he's only 21.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's only 22. But the reports on him from Brentford was what a sound lad he was. He came in, set whatever team, underage team he came in, made captain immediately. Very highly thought of, a leader on the pitch and off the pitch was the quote I saw. But I was talking to Dermot about him as well. He said he's very self-analytical about himself. Like at the end of the game, they'll sit down and they'll talk. Well, how did it go? What could you have done better? What could you have done differently? What were you happy with? What were you not happy with? So he's a great head on his shoulders. Now, at 21 years of age, he can be anything really in this league. Whether he goes back or not, I don't know. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, I looked at his record. What is that? His 10th clean sheet tonight.
10 clean sheet tonight,
every 2 games.
Yeah,
10 clean sheet. The joint top goals against, 14 goals against. So yeah, going really, really well for one so young, 21. I mean, I remember when I broke into the league at 2021. I think I got a run of games for about 10 games. Now, admittedly, there was a very experienced goalkeeper behind me, but I got to run about 10 games, and then I was elbowed out. But there's no sign of that happening And he is really confident, very assured, comfortable with the ball at his feet. So I think he's a great prospect and a great opportunity. He's a great career ahead of him. And by all accounts, he's a very sound lad, very grounded lad. And he's every chance of going all the way. And what do I mean by all the way? Having a very successful career.
Alan, can I just ask you, because I think when young lads are trying to break into a team, you can blood them in and they can get bits of chances, and you can pick and choose the game. It's very hard for a young keeper stepping up from underage football to senior football like he is there. And you could see him, him growing in confidence for it. But it's not a position you can hide away in. Like we've seen our problems last year in our goalkeeping position. It's an unforgiving position, goals, isn't it?
Absolutely. And that's why I think most clubs will go for experienced goalkeepers. They look for experience first. Whereas he seems, I don't know who recruited him or who scouted him or how Dundalk came to have him. But like whoever did it, they done a lot of research into him. But for one so young, at 21 years of age, I think I said earlier, goalkeeper peaks around 29, 30. He's way off even peaking. So he's so much to learn, but he looks as though he wants to learn. And he's like, from talking to Dermot about him, he wants to learn, and he's analysing his own performances, and he great career ahead of him, providing he has a bit of luck, and when I compare it to what happened last year, some of the goalkeepers last year, the Italian lad? Oh God! It was, you could tell, you could feel the tension on the pitch and off the pitch as soon as the ball went near him. That's all gone. That's gone now. Like there's a confidence about him. And I'd like to give him the assist on the third goal tonight. It all came from the cross. He
absolutely,
fed it out to the right back, straight down and scored. So I will give the assist to Nathan Shepherd for the third goal, not necessarily for the ball through.
I was going to just at the top, just when you come on at the top of the show, I was going to ask you a question that we were spoken about the game, but I was just saying before Chris came on that it's 12 months since you come on. I think it's like the end of May last year, which I found hard to believe. I watched the video back today, but just coming on tonight and coming on from last year, the contrast in I don't even our moods as podcasters or your mood coming on talking about the dog. Like, how much has it changed? Stevie and the lads and your brothers in Dermot and Dave and Podge. How much has it lifted the club since you've last come on to in 12 months? It's probably not a better guess to get on, for a 12-month span.
Yeah, no, hugely. Because as I was saying, I was talking about bad goalkeepers or poor goalkeepers. I never say bad, but poor as a goalkeeper last year. Whereas this year we're talking about a good goalkeeper. But not just that, it's the whole, you can feel the whole atmosphere around the club. And the Americans, they weren't interested in the club. They never were. They were only interested in themselves. So the best thing that happened was for them to commit, to go and to be taken over then. Now it's run by people who love Dundalk, who want to be part of a successful Dundalk team. And then they saw Stevie. However Stevie ended up in Dundalk, look, that's football. It happens. But he's made a huge difference. Like the difference, the football they're playing. And I think at the start, there was a couple of ropey games early on, but there was always going to be ropey games early on because you're bedding in new ideas. You have a whole new team together. You look at the back four tonight. Many of them played regularly last year. Mark Connolly certainly did. Andy Boyle wasn't regular last year, was he? He was injured a lot. Then you have Lewis McCarty and Darragh Leahy. So, like the change, and then the way you can see the way they're playing as well, the confidence in their playing. When I was up there a couple of weeks ago, the air of positivity about the place, people want to go to them. I'm jealous of the crowds that Dundalk are getting now. I'm jealous of the crowds the League of Ireland are getting. They're massive crowds. Who wouldn't love to play in front of them? But again, you're getting all these positive vibes. It's lovely to see, and I would always be a very proud League of Ireland man. And it's great to see the interest in the league, and it's the interest you lads are generating as well. Like the impact of social media, I feel, on the league has been huge. So it's definitely in Dundalk, the air of positivity is huge. And now I'd say early on people were saying, look, if we finish in the top 3 or 4, now you're thinking, I still don't think Rovers won't win it. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Because I think that they have the biggest squad. They have some really, really good players. But Dundalk aren't far behind them. And if they slip up, I know there's a 10-point gap at the moment with 2 games in hand. But I can't see Rovers not winning it. But I think Dundalk will run them very, very close. And going back to what you said earlier, the air of positivity is huge. And you can see why. The team are performing. It's back. People feel it's their club again. It's not some American over making stupid decisions about basketball players and throw-ins and who should kick goal kicks. I don't know. So you can feel that. You can feel it. That can only be good. That can only be good.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, and it's a lot of credit to Stephen O'Donnell as well, the caliber of players he's brought in. They've really bought into his project that he's doing here. And you just mentioned about the town, but they seem to understand what it means to play for the town as well, because, look, Gally, you would have heard it there tonight. Like, Mark Connolly was just constantly at everybody. Why didn't you challenge for that header? Why didn't you do this? Like, he is just at it. He wouldn't give you a moment if you were playing with him. But these players that have come in, they absolutely have bought into what Dundalk Football Club is all about.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree entirely. And having a player like Mark Connolly, that's what you want. Like, you want the more of them type of players who are not just demanding of themselves, but demanding of others. They want other people to perform at the highest level possible. But no one, anyone coming in, even from, say, the likes of Nathan or Lewis McCarty, coming from England, and they say, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Dundalk. They played in the Champions League so many times. She's saying, must be good. This is an opportunity. So they're coming over. It's not. I remember we spoke about the cup final for Derry. Calvin Plummer came over for 2 matches, and I remember around that time English players used to come over to get some money and then just hump off. Whereas these lads are coming over now for a career, and they're being welcomed into the town, and they know when you walk down the town, you be greeted. Now you get abused. You'll get friendly slagging if you don't produce on the pitch. I know that. But now they're suddenly, we're heroes here, so why wouldn't you want to play for Dundalk? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you buy into this whole project? So great credit due to Stevie and whoever he has out there looking for players, because he's attracted some really, really good players and grounded players. I like, not just, you can have all the ability in the world, but if you don't have the character behind that, you'll play 3 or 4 games and then you're gone. Whereas these lads seem to be all very, very grounded, want to play for Dundalk and want to improve themselves. Can only be good.
Yeah, and I think if you bring that back to last year, Alan, that's exactly where we went wrong. We were just buying guys thinking, well, they have to be okay because they played in European football, but you have to get the league, you have to get this club for it all to work. You can't just throw players in and hope it works.
You have to get it. Exactly. You have to want to be here. It's not just a case, I'll make a few bob over there, yeah. And they were offering stupid money, I heard. It was just crazy money. So who wouldn't go? And these are fellas who just want money. And you could see they weren't going to play for the club. They weren't going to play for Dundalk. They were going to get a few bob in their pockets. Whereas it's different this year. Yes, I'm sure they're being paid well. I don't know anything about that. But they want to play for Dundalk. They want to improve. And they know this is an opportunity for whatever reasons to improve themselves. Maybe they want to go back across. I don't know. Who knows? But you always want to be the best that you can possibly be. And I would always admire that in a player. And you can see that coming through with the quality of player that Stevie has attracted.
Yeah. And I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit with this next one. If you were Nathan Shepherd and you have this season and you come to the end of the season and you've enjoyed, like he probably has, playing senior football, would you be tempted to stay on and grow with this club and hope opportunities come later, or do you grasp it now where he is at Brentford, do you think?
No. I definitely stay. Like this is his first club that he's been number 1 choice. He hasn't even played the full season. And this is what I'm saying. He has so much to learn. Yeah, I go back to my brother. He's in great hands. There's no better man than Dermot to keep you grounded. He's kept me grounded for all my life, so he'll keep him grounded. But it's an opportunity, and it's not like if I was Nathan Shepard, I could be playing in Europe next year. Yeah, I want to play in Europe. I want to play at the highest level. Yes, maybe 2-3 years down the line, he wants to go back. And even 2-3 years' time, he'll only be 23, 24, which as a goalkeeper is very, very young. And what he will have against an awful lot of other goalkeepers, say the equivalent of where he is now, who stay in England. How many senior games will they have played in the 3 years? Very, very few.
Yeah.
Whereas he will have, I have 150 games under my belt. I've played Europe 10, 15 times. So who are you going to sign? The fella who stayed with West Ham or whoever over in England who played the odd game here and there? Or will you sign him who has 3 years under his belt, all them games, all that experience, European experience? So if I was Nathan Shepard, I would stay for 2-3 years. And then he can reassess where he's at personally. But no, I would never move. If I was at this stage of my career, 21 years of age, you just want to establish yourself. And you can't say that he's established himself after 6 months.
No.
You just can't, because you might have had a good 6 months. Some people have a bad 6 months. But he has all the signs of being a good, solid, sound goalkeeper. So build on it. Just build on it. And get as much experience as you possibly can.
And there's probably growth for himself even off the pitch. You know, it's his first time probably away from being close to his family and stuff like that, and being surrounded in a full-time senior football setup as well. So there's learnings off the pitch for him too, I'm sure too. It's not as simple as rolling up and playing football.
No, well, you lads can all remember when you were 21.
Just about.
What did you know? I know at the time you felt you knew.
I'm still 21.
At 21. But you now when you look back, I didn't know an awful lot, but I lived life. So he's 21 years of age. Like, geez, it's all ahead of him. You know. So very grand. But that's what I like about the reports I've heard about him, not just from Dermot, from other, like from Brentford where he was before. What a grounded lad he was, very popular lad. He was the leader on the pitch, a leader off the pitch. He was made captain of whatever team he played on in Brentford. They're all very, very positive signs, both as on and then to carry on to your footballing career as well.
So a priority for the club to maybe get Nathan down, nail down on an offer and show, I suppose, we're a progressive looking club. Alan, look, we always appreciate your time coming on here, but I suppose just before you go, we talked about different teams and players you played for and finals and that. If you had to pick your best moment while playing for Dundalk, what really sticks out in your mind is that one moment?
Jeez, that's now you're.
It doesn't have to be the podcast.
And I'll see you in half an hour.
I couldn't say. I mean, the double in '88, the league win in '91. On a personal, then we played Liverpool and Celtic in Oriel Park in front of full houses, held them to 0 all scores. We played against Ajax. We played it. It's hard to pin it down to one. I just couldn't say one, because I was extremely fortunate to experience so many highs in my career. So I couldn't put it down to one. But I suppose the two highlights would have been the double, the league winning of '91. They were definitely the two highlights for me. Yeah, definitely. To win a league is just, it's a culmination of a whole season's work, and a culmination of people say, well, no one can doubt you. You won the league. And the way we won both leagues on the last day of the season, last game of the season.
Yeah.
Both leagues were won the last game. Yeah, so how can just fortunate to be there and to come out on the right side of both results. I mean, the feeling in both games. I still, when we get back together and we talk about, I still get little shivers. We all get little shivers, and just remembering that feeling. You can't put a price on that, but that feeling, I don't know. It's just a great feeling. Very lucky I was.
Yeah. Like I say, I got caught the other day on YouTube, and there's an hour-long footage from the 88 final on YouTube at the moment, and it's fantastic. Yeah, I highly recommend anyone that's unaware of that final, and just to go and watch it. Because the atmosphere, the crowds, and everything, it was unreal. Alan, look, thank you as always for coming on. We wouldn't mind having you back, I suppose, maybe before the end of the year, and we'll have a look at how Nathan performed over the full season.
How Nathan finished the season. Absolutely, would love to. Chris.
Hopefully he's tuned in. Hopefully he's watching.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Alan.
Cheers, Alan.
I get there with the recording. All right, lads. An absolute pleasure. Thanks a million. Cheers.
Cheers, Alan.
Cheers.
Thanks, Alan. Lads, that's me. It's my favourite Dundalk player. Twice I've done it. I'm just really happier.
That's what I say. I couldn't believe it was 12 months. I can't remember the exact date, but I was watching through the footage earlier on to share the wee snippet that we had up of Alan last year. But funnily enough, ironically talking about the goalkeepers and the state of the goalkeepers at the time. But 12 months. It's mad. Like, it was one of our actual early guests. And like himself, Martin Lawler probably went at the same time. And I don't really remember. Like before, but even to be 12 months past and to have a change of conversation, you know, we're all positive.
Yeah.
Look, no better man to bring on and talk about it, you know.
It's funny, you know, like you say, you think about back the atmosphere and everything in Oriel Park then, and the uncertainty of our goalkeeper positions, to have someone like Alan go on and speaking so highly of Nathan Shepherd, and you know the reports that he's hearing back about him. You know, it's lovely just to have that we have these players and we're able to watch them at our club at the moment, and you think that they have a potential to grow with our club and then even further on in their careers later on, and hopefully we'll say, like, yeah, I've seen him play in Oriel Park, you know. Yeah,
well, that's it. And like, you know, in 20 years' time, there might be a podcast or whatever they're doing then, and they'll be talking about Nathan Shepherd, because we've, like, the Dundalk have been blessed with goalkeepers. You have Alan ONeill, you know, Richie Blackmore, before my time, Richie, but Gary Rogers, you know, even Peter Cherry's league medal, still at the club now. Eddie Van Boxtel on the pitch was great. We won't talk about anything else, you know, but that type of thing is just, that we have a good pedigree of goalkeepers at the Dundalk Football Club. A lot of league winners, and yeah, Alan's right up there with anything, even just in League of Ireland terms, anything that we've had. You know.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing as well that I took out of that is, you know, the reports that Alan's getting back is that Nathan's a good lad, you know, and that's something, as he said there, that's something that was missing last year. You had people that were coming in for a pay packet, you know, and they were playing for the wages, they weren't playing for the club. And I think you just look at Nathan, and you look at even, I don't know if you lads remember, it's clear, like the first couple of games of the season where we were talking about how Mark Conley was you know, was at Adam, and how different it is today in comparison to that. You know, he's settled in, he's done the work. He has to be working hard to be able to listen to Dermot O'Neill every day of training. It's going to take it off. But I'm only saying that because I was chatting to Dermot today. So, but you know, it's good.
The back thing good.
Yeah, exactly. It's good to hear that there's good, honest lads back in the squad. And I think, you know, as you say, you look at Nathan, you look at Lewis McCarry after extending his loan to the end of the season, you look at Mark Conley, like all these lads, it's a hard working team, and that's the biggest thing, you know, in the 12 months from when we were chatting to Alan last year. You know, we bemoaned every game, not every player, but there was a handful of players in every game that you said they're not trying an inch, you know. And I think even on our worst day this season, I don't think we would say, if we look back to the last UCD game a couple of weeks back, where we said how poor Everton was, I don't think it was because the team wasn't trying. No. I think it was just it was poor performances. What we were trying to do wasn't working. And I think, you know, as I say, going back to Shepherd, I think the biggest thing is that he's a good lad and he's a hard worker and he's wanting to get better. I mean, going into the dressing room after a game, after getting a clean sheet, no matter who it's against, and you're asking, what have I done well? What can I do better the next game? Like that's the kind of attitude you want. And it's great to hear that, you know, and it's great to hear someone of Alan's stature being able to talk from the experience that he's had, and then also be able to talk of the reports that he's been hearing from within.
Yeah, and even if you take, sorry Chris, even if you take the game tonight, just Alan mentioned very quickly, the goal, you know, that Nathan's been involved in, he's had pretty much nothing to do the whole game. He comes out and, you know, comes out between 3 or 4 players, lay it on, takes the ball cleanly down the field, And you can do nothing for 89 minutes. A lot of goalkeepers might have flapped at that, and it falls into the back of the net. Like that's what's going on up there at the minute, and it's just the attitude. They're on it all the time, as much as they can. It's a world apart from when Alan was on the last time.
I think when Alan was talking about the back four in front of him, I think you can make a lot of comparisons to where we are at the moment, and it's about commitment levels and expectation, of players like you would say probably Andy Boyle and Mark Connolly, the two seniors in that defence at the moment. They ask a lot of everyone else around them, but Pingu, you mentioned it there at the very start. The ball's coming into the box, and he was yelling at Nathan Shepherd, but it's only because he knew he could do these things and he wanted to get that experience out of him. And now I watch a long ball come in tonight, and he's knocking headers back to Nathan Shepherd, who's collecting them easy. Like the understanding they have now, and I think when you think of the Martin Lawlers and that Alan would have played with before, there was a great understanding there too, and I think that also helps with confidence in the goalkeeper, that they have a confidence in front of him, and vice versa then as well. And I think that's what we see now, and therefore we're on to a 10 clean sheet, lads, and it's night and day from last year.
Yeah, and I think if we look even away from the goalkeeper situation for a minute, all the plaudits right now are going towards Mark Connolly in the back four, and McCarry's playing really well. Leahy, I think it's probably no real surprise that our upturning fortunes come now that we've got a natural left back playing. But I think there's a little bit of a disservice done, and we've probably done it, and I'd hold my hands up. I've done it this season for Andy Boyle. I thought tonight, to be fair, it's against an opposition where he didn't have a lot to do, but I thought he was excellent tonight when he was called upon and driving out of the back four into the midfield. Like I think he's done very well, and I think the good performances of Mark Connolly, I think he can only be as good if he knows that he's got that support behind him in Boiler. And I feel like, again, as you say, Chris, I feel like there's an understanding there now, and we probably haven't seen that understanding of probably since Garrett and Boyle, before Boyle made the move over to the UK. Like we probably haven't seen that. And before you come on, Chris, we were just talking about the understanding that that Paul Doyle and Sloggett are getting in midfield now as well. We haven't seen that, I don't think, probably since Shields and Skip were in there,
No,
so
probably not.
We're slowly starting to see this team growing, and like we've said, and I was talking to Donald a couple of weeks ago for his blog, you don't want to make comparisons to teams like Kenny's first team in 2013, but it has that air of it from then, where if we had this team together 6 months before the season started, imagine how good we'd be at this stage. And that's not to blow today's result up as this magnificent performance, because it wasn't. It was a what they call a professional performance, you would call it. They've done what they had to do. But I just think that I feel like this team is just getting better game on game on game, and you're seeing now slowly Skip is starting to put a bit more trust in the likes of Ryan O'Kane. Is that too? He played, I know, in the friendlies, but he came on and played 20 minutes tonight as well. I think some of those comments just came in for you there, Gally. But I think Eamon Collins, has someone hacked your account there or something? But yeah, I think
that's how popular we are. People are willing to hack the comments.
It's good to see. It's good. It's just, as I say, it's very, very good to see the sorry, I've lost my train of thought with all these things that are coming up. But it's great to see our team settling. Our players settling with each other and starting to get this understanding of each other. And long may it continue.
But I think part of that, Pingu, then you look at, like you say, the substitutes tonight and who he's given opportunities to, and the likes of Ryan O'Kane is getting more of a chance on the pitch now, and he seems to be. We were wondering earlier on, Skip hasn't had this chance because of, I suppose, there's no League Cup, there's no Leinster Cup where you would get other lads to actually get in there and play some football, and you get a better chance to look at them. So Wardy's come in and Wardy's come out a little bit too. Like, it can be a little all over the place. Towards now, I think you're starting to see, here's an opportunity to get this player in, here's an opportunity to get that player in, and you're probably seeing him trust and use his squad a bit more in particular, and it was nice to have the probably 2-goal cushion, and then he could start making substitutes this morning, because I think probably looking at the first half, he was probably scratching his head going, what's gone wrong here, because there wasn't really great patterns of play. We weren't testing keeper, but when eventually I suppose the plan came to fruition for him, he then had an opportunity to get Wardy in there, and then Wardy picks up his goal, and same then for O'Kane to get in and get involved. And it's great for these players, and it's great for us, because I think we're probably seeing with Hooben's injury how that can affect your squad. And you probably talked about it already, but I really felt in the first half we were still playing like there was a Hooben up front for us. Every ball was into the chest of McMillan, and his back to goal towards. I find McMillan's much easier, much more comfortable, and plays his best football when the ball's in front of him and he's running onto it and he's getting strikes, and he's involved at the end of play towards. You think of the goal against Shamrock Rovers. Patrick Hooben is a hard-working player who likes to be in creating in some part of the goal and stuff like that. And you think he chests it down, he brings Lopez out and plays it out to Macari against Shamrock Rovers, and that's part of his game.
Yeah,
they're two brilliant strikers, just
absolutely
work ethics around them. And I think it took us a little while to get a pattern of play that would bring Dave McMillan more into the game.
Yeah, well, we were just saying earlier, it seemed in the first half like everything was get the ball out to the right and get a cross into the box. Like that just seemed to be, we were saying it was rinse and repeat. And then, of course, we scored 2 goals from a ball from the right into the box. But in the first half, it just wasn't working. You know what I mean? And it gets to the point we were saying, like with UCD, where the longer they hold on, the more of a chance they have of getting something from the game. And I think we scored, like McMillan got his first goal just at the right time. And it was a typical McMillan goal. I mean, it was a great finish, bombed it into the top of the net. And it's one of those where I would kind of disagree with you, Chris. I don't think they tried to play like they did with Hooben. I feel like he did try change it where the ball was coming a bit more direct from wide areas into the box, but I just felt like it wasn't working until it worked. But I think if we're against a stronger outfit than UCD, they're probably going to hit us on a counter attack. I think because we're against a UCD that were a little bit slower coming out, that we had the opportunity to keep trying until it eventually worked, So I think he probably needs to look at it. I mean, in a situation like that with Hooben out, and you don't want to replace him with 2 players, but sticking another striker up top, sticking John Martin up there with McMillan might help a little bit. If you don't want to really change how you play, you might have to change the way, like the formation, the way you're playing. You might just have to maybe stick another body. Maybe if Martin can do that, where he plays with his back to goal and let McMillan run off of him, might be the way to do it going forward. But it sounds like Hooben's going to be out for a little while, does it?
It's at least a couple of weeks anyway. Yeah, that's the talk of it. And we could be talking 3 to 4 weeks, maybe. Unknown, the club haven't really stated. And look, I get your point on that. I think what I was trying to just say was I just thought McMillan just had his back to goal too much in the first half. Anyway, I felt he was a lot more on the front foot in the second half. And like you say, but it was a lot of wide balls and get them in. And we just didn't seem to be on the same wavelength at times in the first half. And then as much as we tried to up the tempo, at every opportunity, UCD slowed it back down then again. And then the torrential rain in the middle of it all doesn't help when you're for that sort of tempo as well. So I think a lot of that probably there's Frank Harlan. I think it could be 6 weeks for Hooben. Wow. So that could be a blow. Could be a blow. And you think the lack of games then for McMillan. And the lack of minutes, I suppose you would say, then for Martin as well. It's that's the other problem with that as well. That you'd love to have got these lads in, and thankfully, Skip had organised the Larne match and the Bows match, and was able to get these lads some minutes on the pitch because they're at least got some sort of sharpness about them, and the goal's going to help. The goal is going to help McMillan.
And there's just when you say the goal. At the start of the show, we were talking about how non-Pat Hooben David McMillan is, but then the second half kicks in and how David McMillan, that David McMillan goal is. It was just one of those swings and roundabouts. Yeah. And look, that's what he does. I mean, McMillan was, we're talking a couple of years ago in European football, top class and top goal scorer at one stage in European football at one stage, but you know, that's the Dave McMillan that we're looking for. I mean, if he does nothing and produces one of them every week, then look, we don't need the actual, you know, the drop in the midfield and all that stuff that Pat Hoogan would do, that engine he has. But yeah, that's a fantastic. And left pegged as well, you know, it's fantastic. Yeah.
The one thing you'd hope as well this time of year is, this is the time of year, unfortunately we don't have Europe, but this is the time of year where McMillan shines, isn't it? You know, this is where he comes to the front, and you would be hopeful in the next couple of weeks that he's gonna, you know, he got 75 minutes was it that he played, so he got the bulk of a game, so that's going to be good for him, and getting that goal is going to fill him with confidence moving forward into the next few weeks. And I mean, the fact that Europe is on as well, we're coming up against teams that are going to be playing in Europe.
Yeah.
We have the extra games rest. I think I was chatting to someone last week. I think we're looking at the middle of August probably when we're going to play the Sligo game, the refix game now. So, so you know, we've got a few weeks before we have that kind of the bulk of games together. But we'll have the rest when other clubs won't. You know.
Were you getting that top secret information on your UEFA A course, right?
Are we any wiser, lads, of who scored the second goal?
No, Pingu caught me out a wee bit because I was kind of going to get into it. To me, the last person I seen touch it from the stands was Sloggett, but then it seemed to take that long to go into the net. I said, somebody else has obviously kicked that. It's obviously hit 27 deflections on the way because it just seemed to take forever. I don't know if it was different from your side, Chris, but it just seemed to take that long to go in. I don't know. I would put it down to Sloggett simply because he's the last person I've seen touch it, but it definitely looked like it hit someone else.
Well, it looked like 6 Dundalk players congratulated Sloggett for the goal. Three shook Joe Adams' hand, and then all the UCD players told the defender on the line to go fuck himself. So I don't know how you can pick there through that who you think scored, but it looked to me actually like it didn't cross the line with Sloggett. So I don't know, it was either an own goal or Adams just got the touch. But if the whole ball is not behind the line, I mean, it's Adams' goal if he gets it across. So but we were saying, Chris, that I think Gavin McLaughlin on social media gave it to both Adams and Sloggett. So
I love Mickey Duffy just went, and a second goal for Dundalk. That was it.
2-0 now.
That was my moment of the match. And a Wardy popping up for you know, if the first goal was a very Dave McMillan goal, you know, the third goal was a very Wardy goal, wasn't it? You think?
Yeah, because he tried his best to let the goalkeeper save it, didn't he? Like almost like mishit it. They still went in, so that's
he gave him every chance.
As Wardy as it gets. Yeah.
But just teased him enough that it was just out of reach, like you know.
Yeah, just perfect. First time as well. I mean, that's the where experience comes in. Whereas maybe a John Martin in there, that role might have come on and maybe took a touch, tried, and in fairness, might have had a chance to take a touch, but instinct just with Wardy. Yeah, look, that's class, and he was class. You know, he hardly looked like he broke sweat. You know, his pass into Rhino Kane. I don't know what minute it was. Maybe in the 80 odd minutes, Kane had burst in the left wing. It's just class, and that's what he gives you.
Absolutely. I think we stopped doing our predictions after 90 minutes. So any goals after 90 minutes don't count them. All right. I literally went.
Is that what we're at now? Is
it? Was it you who said 3 or was it Steph?
It was me.
Scally.
Yeah, and I just went, no way.
Yeah. I was going to go 4. I said no, I'll rein it back. I think I went 4-0 the last time, and I got thrown apart. So haven't done a lot of the match yet, boys, have we?
I think we will. I think we'll get there for it.
I think it's. There is a couple of shouts. There is a couple of Adam shout, but I think we do have a clear winner. A couple of comedy ones as well.
I think for me, I'd probably pick Sloggett tonight because I think he's getting better every single match. And if I could give a joint man the match, just like the joint goal, I'd give it to him and Adams. But now for me, I just think Sloggett bossed the game. Him and Doyle are just doing a really good job in the centre of the park, and he looks a different animal, doesn't he? He's starting to look like he did in the 2020 European run in the qualifiers, where he was just running the show. So it's great to see him kind of stepping forward again.
Yeah, he's so composed in the ball, like heading. He's born like, and he's not. He wouldn't be like a Chris Shields. He's not built like that, but yeah, he's top class. I mean, Dan Kelly had a good game as well. I thought he'd done a lot of work on the right, but yeah, there's only one. I mean, for me, Sloggett. I think that might be the third time we've given it to him this season. But no, for me, all day, twice on Sundays.
I think we're starting to see that game from Sloggett as well. You know, he's hungry for the ball, like we would have seen Shields. He'd done it before. Yeah. Wants to get, you know, moves started, and he's taking off the back four and getting us moving, and he's carrying the ball up. I think similar to a lot of players, I don't think first half he was fantastic, but I don't think too many players were. But in particular in the second half, I think he actually just helped lift and drive that team. So it would be Sloggett for me too, which I think is the majority, lads. Am I right in saying?
Pretty much. There's a couple of shouts for. I was just about to say there is shouts for a BB, but that's someone you mentioned in a different comment. Just caught me.
Some Alan O'Neill and Conley then too. So I think for everyone else who has agreed with us tonight, we will pick Colin Mullins. So congratulations, Colin. You are the winner of our Tony's Pizzeria 15-inch pizza. Congratulations there, and have a pizza on us. And thank you, as always, to Tony's Pizzeria. I'm going to get the sponsor thing in nice and early there. The type. Unfortunately, as results didn't amend the table in too much of a direction for us. We just stay pace with where we were. Alan's even of the opinion that, you know, it's probably Shamrock Rovers will just continue this lead. What's your opinion?
Go on, I'll go. I can't talk because I said Derry will be running away with it at this stage of the start of the season. Squad wise, Alan, like, you know, not who am I to talk against Alan O'Neill, but on paper it should be Shamrock Rovers because of the squad. Now that Derry, they're not out of the running, but I mean they've really shot themselves in the foot. Yeah. But I think if we can keep players fit, I know Pat Hoobin's injured, but if they can make one or two signings, I think we'll definitely be in the mix. Because I think if anybody's going to drop some clangers, it probably is Rovers because the pressure's on them. Like, there's no pressure on the dog. So look, once it's not over, like with 8 games to go or 7 games to go, we've got a couple of games in, maybe 3 or 4 even. But I wouldn't say it's a foregone conclusion now, because I just think Rovers will drop points. It's whether we can pick them up. It's whether we can stop having Shelbournes. You know, that's you know, if we can stop, they cut that out and even have first halves like tonight every week and then play the second half like that tonight. I think we'll definitely give them a run for it.
Yeah, I think I mean it's just hard to see them lose without playing particularly well, isn't it, at the minute though? Like I agree with Gally, you'd expect them to drop points, but there's been some games this season where they've been 1-0 down with 2 minutes to go and somehow to win 2-1. You know, they just seem to. It's that kind of champions mentality or champions performances where they just seem to be grinding out wins. I mean, away at the Finn Harps is never easy, but to get a 1-0 win there tonight is a big result for them. You know, they'd be delighted going back down to Dublin from there. My heart says that I want Dundalk to challenge for a title, but my head just says I think it's Rovers to lose. You know, so.
Sorry for bringing
everyone back down.
No, that's what it is, though. I mean, you're going to need them to implode. Like, you're going to need them to. They have to drop 10 points, and we got to pick them up. Like, it's as simple as that. 2 wins in hand, 2 games in hand is great, but you got to go win them.
Yeah. Look, Eamon Collins has said something that we've said as well. You know, most of those teams there in around us, they all have Europe coming out in the next while, so they've got that, you know, double weeks coming up, and I know some of them have cleared fixtures already, and we'll get the back end of those fixtures now next weekend. But when you bring in travel and the expectation that can come from European football, you know, we've seen exactly what happened to Sligo last year. You know, a bad result in Europe, what was expected of them, and their season completely, you know, filtered out then after that into oblivion nearly, and it didn't help then for the start of this year for them. So it just goes to show what an effect sometimes Europe can have in a negative or positive way. I think if we do just have a look at the table, if I can bring this up, I should have it here. Ta-da! So everything stays as was at the top. So Shamrock Rovers keep their 10-point lead on 51 points, with Dundalk in second on 41. Derry a point behind in 40. on 40 points, and then Pats on 35, a gap then of 6 back to the Sligo Rovers in 5th. Bows 26 points, Shells 25 points, and Drogheda 22 points. Then a gap back to Finn Harps on 12 and UCD on 9. So pretty much as you were, I would say, for the table. Lads, one eye on next week for ourselves as Shamrock Rovers go into Europe midweek. We have the Drogs back in Head in the Game Park again. Like we definitely have some ghosts or skeletons we need to bury from the last match. We didn't do ourselves any justice in it. We know how we can play. And if we take anything from tonight's game, like I said, when we played UCD, we've come unstuck before, but I think we showed something tonight, especially in that second half, that showed that we can grind out these results now, and we have a way of playing. Pingu, do you think we've got this axe to grind now in that fixture, and we need to show them that that was a once off that time?
Yeah, I think so. And again, you look at their result tonight, losing 3-0 to Pats. I think I would like to go up there and get a couple of goals. Another result like tonight, 3-0, you'd be happy, wouldn't you? A 2-1, actually, I'd be very happy, because that's going to be my pick for the week. But just go up and get a win. I mean, as we said, like today, we dominated the game without creating a lot in the first half. Like we had, I'd say, if you looked at the possession stats in the first half, it was probably like 75% Dundalk. If we can go up there and do it, great, and just get the win, and as you say, put them to the sword. It can be difficult up there because it's a tight pitch. The crowd's right on top of you. It seems like there's nowhere to move nearly when you're out on the pitch there, because it's so tight, and I think the sidelines are right up against the wall nearly. But you'd be hoping to get another result like tonight and let us push on and get another win.
Yeah. Gally?
Yeah, I beat them.
And that's a wrap.
Yeah, look, I mean, that's it. The low down, like, especially Dale, like Pingu said, that pitch looks claustrophobic. I don't know if it just looks so tight. But I after the second half tonight, I would expect a win. I mean, not a result. You expect a win. I think it'll be tight enough. I don't know if we're doing predictions. I'll probably go for 1-0 myself. I don't think it'll be another one like tonight. So I think generally they loved their match for the Dundalk game. But the squad we have, there's some decent players drawn, but I think now that they've got the hole in that. They got that result last week off the back. I think the next couple of games, I think it's Finn Harps after that, is it? Or is the next home game Finn Harps? I could be wrong. It's Pats and then Finn Harps, is it?
Yeah, it could be.
So, it's a chance. They'll still be annoyed over the Shelbourne match, I think. So they'll be looking to pick up as many points as they can for the next home game away from home. So, no, I'd expect a win, yeah. 1-0, I think. I don't think it'll be much more than that, but a convincing 1-0.
Yeah, I'm of the same thing. I think it's going to be another tight match. It's, like I say, they'll play up to the pitch that's there, and that's every right. They have every right to do that, because that's how they that's how they've got the results, and they had a good run of results recently up there, and and they've pulled some big scalps then as well. But I think they really stopped us play that night in Head in the Game Park. So I think if we go out and actually are able to play a brand of football up there, I think we will just have enough to beat them as well. So I'd go 1-0. Everyone's going 1-0. Oh my God. To look like I'm a copy.
Nothing sure to be 6.
Yeah, well, I think we've all been there when we put these big results out, lads, and we haven't got so much as any credibility coming back from those results. So I'd gladly take a 1-0.
We should say before we go, we should say happy anniversary to Dean Arrowsmith, who 12 years ago today was named assistant manager of the Dundalk FC team in Grevenmacher in Luxembourg. He kindly reminded us that he did say it was 10, but I think it's 12.
2010, and
there we go.
I suppose we'll give a congrats to our former manager Ian Foster, who just won the European Championships. I think it just ended as we started the show tonight, with the England under-19s against Israel, 2-1 after extra time. So congrats, Fozzie. It was pity it's England, but congrats.
You're not going to tell us your moment where he called you forward in the dugout?
No, he asked a question and I went to answer it and he told me to fuck off and don't answer him again. Yeah.
He was looking for his moment standing up on television here. Yeah. No, lean into the gaffer and give him some advice.
My favourite moment actually during that year was up in the Belfield Bowl. We were playing against UCD and the same thing happened. I think was Anthony Buttermores, and he the little referee, like little short fella that used to referee, and he was on the sideline and Fozzie went nuts over something. And they said to him, the ref come over and said, look, one more word and you're gone. And Johnny Breen's on the bench with me, and Martin Connolly was on one of his 7 holidays that time as well. So Johnny Breen's nudging me on the bench, and Paul Cheshire's nudging me the other side. Go on, tell Fozzie to say something. Tell Fozzie to say something, to have a go. So because I'd end up being the one Hats was playing as well, so I would have been the one if Fozzie had been sent off. I would have had to manage the team, but in my head, I was thinking like Roy the Rover stuff. Part of me was like, go on, yeah, well, I'll tell him to say something. I'll start winding them up or something like that to say something. And it'll be in the Argus then this week that the kit man becomes the manager. But yeah, no, it never happened. Never happened.
Brilliant. So yeah, congratulations to Fozzie. It's fantastic for himself. Great to see him going on and doing so well. Thanks to Alan ONeill for popping in tonight. Thanks for Paul Bean for during the week as well for our video for KickCon. That kicks off tomorrow at 10 o'clock in the Imperial Hotel. Tickets are only €12 and there's a full day's worth of entertainment there for you too. So highly recommend that as an event too. Thank you so much to our sponsors, to Dundalk Village, to Player Fit for our merchandise, and to Tony Speaker. You always look at me, Gally, like I'm going to get these wrong every week. It's the pressure looking at me is the hardest part. Thank you to Tony's Pizzeria as always, for our Man and Match pizza competition. Gentlemen, thank you for tonight as well. For the man who is now an American citizen, I think it would be only right to give you the final word tonight. Thank you.
Cheers, Chris. For me and my friend Bill, I just want to wish everybody a happy 4th of July, all right? And I'll see you all next week, guys.